Institutions are depositing to 100 to 400 million US dollars per week in crypto. I'm Kieran from Crypto Bulls. Really happy to have you here with me today. First and foremost, I hope you've had an exceptional week until now. And if you're looking forward to the next bull run, then I'd appreciate if you'd smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. I'm looking forward to the next few months. So I'll be happy if you join me on this cryptocurrency journey. So let's get started. So first, this is pretty good news with the 200 to 400 million US dollars going into cryptocurrency each week. That's very bullish news. Happy about that. So Bitcoin adoption by institutions has gone from a myth, everyone's been talking about it, to actual money going into the cryptocurrency market. So we know the answer about adoption, says Armstrong. Speaking on Twitter, August 16th, Brian Armstrong said that 2019 had formed the year of reckoning for institutional Bitcoin uptake, with the trend now obvious. He states whether institutions were going to adopt crypto or not was an open question about 12 months ago. I think it's safe to say we now know the answer. We are seeing around 200 to 400 million US dollars a week in the new crypto deposits coming from institutional customers. It's a big amount. So Coinbase becomes world's largest crypto custodian. Armstrong made the comments hours after Coinbase confirmed its acquisition of the international operations of storage giant Xapo. The move, as Cointelegraph reported, put Coinbase top of the institutional manager list for crypto with $7 billion US dollars of assets under custody. Apparently that gives Coinbase around 5% of the Bitcoin assets, which is a bigger number. So despite Bitcoin's 2019 bull run fizzling in the recent weeks, Armstrong remained highly buoyant about the future as multiple new institutional investment products hit the market. Very good. So in addition to custody, we're excited to explore new ways to monetize and leverage crypto assets, such as staking, borrowing against crypto portfolios, and lending crypto to trusted counterparties. So Coinbase hinted about its future plans in a blog post about the Xapo deal. So everything is very bullish. I like to hear this kind of news. Now, even more bullish news is coming from China, but it's mostly about the cryptocurrency. And however, it's combined with negative news about the biggest credit bubble in history, and that's China bank bailouts spark biggest credit bubble in the history. So this financial crisis is on many fronts. Now, Bitcoin could possibly gain from economic uncertainty in China, as one describes the country's third major bank bailout of 2019 as the world's biggest credit bubble. So China bailouts three banks, 390 billion US dollars. Taking statistics from various sources, a Twitter cryptocurrency trader and commentator known as Crypto Arbitrage noted last week bailout of Heng Feng Bank was the third involving assets over 200 billion US dollars and trillions tied up state-owned banks that are loaned to state-owned enterprises. Biggest money printing in history, biggest credit bubble in history, they summarize. So here's a tweet. Crypto Arbitrage, the third 100 billion plus bank bailout this year, trillions tied up in state-owned banks that are loaned to state-owned enterprises, biggest money printing in history, biggest credit bubble in history. Could Hong Kong be their black swan? Bursts equal bullish for Bitcoin. So I'm not sure if you remember, I posted a video yesterday about a potential upcoming bank run in Hong Kong. I mean, there's a lot of factors, macroeconomic factors that are leading to this bubble. But I think there are many players, many like Lego bricks falling into place that are causing this bubble to burst. And these bailouts are not helping at all. And I think the more that these bailouts are happening, the more money is being printed, the worse this financial crisis is going to be. So Hang Feng, also known as Evergrowing Bank, has agreed to a Chinese state restructuring as pressure piles on domestic banking sector. In late May, a similar process began with Baoshang Bank, the first such move since the 1990s, followed last month by Bank of Jinzhou. So both institutions have total assets of around 500 billion yuan. Baoshang has 576 billion and Jinzhou has 723 billion in total for all three banks. The figure stands at around 2.719 trillion yuan, around 386 billion US dollars. So China's credit bubble banking assets as a percentage of GDP is now the highest out of any nation at any point in history. And the US and China trading war is not helping at all, but it's going to have a big effect on not only the Chinese economy but on the global economy. So according to data from global macro asset management firm Crescat Capital, at almost 300%, the statistics were of Europe's sovereign debt crisis of 2011 and the US housing market bubble of 2007. So I think the next financial crisis, even if it starts, it's going to be interesting which country is going to be leading this next financial crisis that is going to happen. Is it going to just start with China? Is it going to start in Asia? Is it going to start in the US? It's going to be interesting. Now, taking this financial crisis that's going to happen and the Chinese bubble that is imminent to pop, how is this going to affect cryptocurrency market? How is this going to affect Bitcoin in the short and long term? So in the short term, it appears like excitement over Bitcoin as a way out of exposure to such risks has fizzled. I think it's important to look at the big picture, looking at what kind of effects it has on the long term. As in the short term, I don't think that people will go into much riskier assets such as the cryptocurrency space. I think it's going to have a positive effect on the cryptocurrency space, but only on the mid and long term and not on the short term. So short term is not a good picture to have. You have to have the mid and long term picture in front of you. And that's where people were going to put the assets to hedge against a financial crisis, but it's more the mid and long-term picture that you have to have in front of you. The critics have already argued that US-China relations and the Hong Kong protests did not really result in a Bitcoin buying spree, while a temporary lull in the trade war nonetheless coincided with BTC USD dropping almost 20% this week. You also have to take into consideration that the cryptocurrency market is still very, very small. So any news has a high volatility impact on the market. So the cryptocurrency market has to grow a lot so that small selling and buying doesn't affect the volatility too much. But like I said, we have to look at the big picture and the long-term effect of the financial crisis on the cryptocurrency market. Now, in a bit more positive news, we will talk about the presidential race, and I think this you guys will find this pretty interesting. And you've probably already heard about Andrew Yang, and he supports and accepts Bitcoin, and he agrees that the race needs blockchain. So America's presidential race, as for those that are not from America or familiar with our presidential system, every 4 years we elect a president through a public and electoral voting process. Currently, we have a Republican president in office, Donald Trump. We won't go too much into that, but we want to talk about Andrew Yang and his love for Bitcoin and blockchain technology. So one of the candidates is a notable Bitcoin lover and entrepreneur, Andrew Yang. Andrew is a likable guy with a strong zeal for economic welfare. His main concept for this presidential race is the ideal of giving every American citizen a stipend of $1,000 a month. His philosophy is that this will boost the economy and accelerate development as people will satisfy their current livelihood needs faster and spend more money on goods and services. I think this is a good idea. And in addition, Andrew is currently the only candidate that has actively promoted and supported the crypto industry. He came out touting the benefits of utilizing Bitcoin and now accepts crypto-based donations for his presidential race. Andrew Yang crypto interview on the 14th of August. Yang was interviewed by Crypto Joe in the Coin chat to further discuss his position on cryptocurrency, the presidential race, and his welfare program. We are going to focus solely on the blockchain and crypto related part. So he supports the technology jumping right internet. Young bounces around topics and focuses mainly on his presidential race. But there's a good bit to be said about technology and blockchain. And Young clearly thinks the path for America as a country is forward and not backwards. So thus Young's views technology as the means to a new country superpower. He related technology to the 21st century oil resource. For instance, entire countries' ecosystem have been built around the ability to supply and sell oil for around the world, and technology is the virtual representation of this commodity. So I think this is a very good point. And at the moment, the US is not the leading country in terms of cryptocurrency adoptions. There are many other countries. You've got Singapore, you've got Switzerland, you've got various other European and Asian countries that are leading this technological and financial race. And I think if the US doesn't adopt a more pro-cryptocurrency stance, they're going to be left behind, which is unfortunate. I mean, the similar thing happened during the automotive industry. I'm not sure if you've heard about this story. It's pretty interesting. And back when the automotive industry was full in development and so on, I mean, the UK had a pretty strong stance, pretty strong adoption, but they kind of put in several regulations which blocked the adoption and technology from going even more further. So they put some regulations which were quite strange. You can read up on it, and one of the very strange regulations that they put in place was with you had to have 3 people in a car. I mean, it sounds silly, but it's true, and it's pretty weird. And you had to have 3 people per car. One person would always have to run at the front of like 100 meters in the front with a flag, make sure everyone's out of the way, and then you could continue driving. You would also have to have one person to make sure that you're not running other people over. So basically, having these type of regulations in place just makes it difficult for the adoption of a new technology to happen. And the same thing is happening now. If we go back and look at the current state of the regulatory landscape in the US, I think it's a bit backwards and not forward thinking. So I think the much more adoption has to be in place. It's got to be more pro cryptocurrency instead of being scared. So I think looking at the presidential candidates, Andrew Yang is definitely a good candidate in terms of looking at pushing cryptocurrency, and not only cryptocurrency, but other technological advancements and financial advancements, so that the US can also be part of the race and not be left behind, because it's going to be a few years if they don't step up their game and make sure that regulations are not hindering technological and financial advancements. Then other countries are just going to take the place as first movers advantage. And yeah, it's the same with the UK. Didn't have, because of these regulations, lost out on a lot of economical power, because they lost out on the automotive industrial revolution. So if the US doesn't want that to happen, the same with the cryptocurrency and blockchain revolution, then they're going to have to step up their game. So that was it for today. Hope you found this video interesting. If you've got some interesting comments, just put them down. Just any comments or questions related to the video or not related to the video, also related to cryptocurrency in general, then leave it down below. If you've got suggestions for our next videos, then also leave that down below. And I'd also appreciate if you'd smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell if you want some more videos like this if you want to stay up to date on the cryptocurrency market. So without further ado, I wish you a great day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.